It is 9:12 in the morning on a Tuesday, and of course, it is the HOA's favorite hour to ruin lives. The backhoe's bucket bites straight through my front porch railing, and the wood splinters, as if it had insulted the president's clipboard. A man in a neon vest waves his arm to keep going. Dust rises and spreads in the air. My Ring camera blinks helplessly as if asking whether I want this recorded in high definition or as pure trauma. On the lawn, HOA President Cheryl Whitman stands. In spotless white sandals, while tapping a laminated board resolution, as if it were a magic spell, she announces to the cul-de-sac that I have delinquent assessments and that property abatement is authorized. A bright orange notice is stapled to my door that reads abandoned structure demolition in progress. Just a completely normal Tuesday. Decoration. I swing into the driveway so fast that my coffee spills across the console. I shout, asking what they think they are doing. The man in the vest shrugs and says the orders are from the association and that I am 14 months behind. Cheryl gives me a stiff smile and says, "This community has standards." Neighbors freeze in the middle of their dog walks. A jogger suddenly decides to do a very long stretch. Phones rise into the air. Somewhere the Nextdoor app begins to warm up. It's Gossip Engine. I set my cup on the hood, step past Cheryl, and open my wallet. The metal badge shines in the sunlight. The operator's hand hovers above the lever. The man in the vest goes stiff like a statue. Cheryl's smile freezes into a blank icon. My badge is not for parking privileges or ego. It is my day job. Investigate fraud for the state. And right now, I am staring at my half-eaten porch. Take a quick breath. If your blood pressure rose just now, tap like so this story spreads faster than the next backhoe. And drop the word laminated in the comments if you have ever met a Cheryl, because here is the part they did not see coming. The badge is not the scariest thing I brought. It is the receipts and a parcel map that is about to prove they are chewing. On the wrong house? On the wrong lot number? My name is Noah Reyes. I moved into Cypress Point 3 years ago because the brochure promised resort-style amenities and low-maintenance living. The translation is a pool with a permanent heater out, of order sign and a fountain that spits more goose than water, and neighbors who measure grass like it owes them interest. I like order. I like systems. I am the person who color codes a budget and names his spreadsheets. I also carry a badge as a state investigator. I'm not a police officer and not a superhero. I am the person who follows paper trails until they confess. My house is a modest sunlit 3-bedroom with a porch I rebuilt with my dad over one long weekend. There was sawdust in the air and iced coffees, sweating on the steps, and my dad squinting at a level. When we drove the last screw, he slapped the rail and said it was strong enough to hold a marching band. So watching a backhoe chew, it felt personal. It felt like they took a bite out of a memory. The neighborhood is a sitcom. Gary is a retired Navy man who stripes his lawn like a baseball field and salutes the mail carrier. Says morning shipmate to everyone. Maria across the street can sense conflict like weather. She will lift a warm loaf and whisper that she smelled attitude, so she baked. And then there is Cheryl, who is the HOA president and starch in human form. She treats the CC&Rs like scripture and grace periods like urban legends. Her sidekick is Brent, who is the property manager from SunPath, and an email auto-reply wearing khaki pants. His default response is per our policy, which is corporate for no dot. On day one, I set my assessments to autopay. I never missed. I have receipts that are older than some TikTok trends. So when I heard 14 months behind, 2 things clicked. They were wrong. My spreadsheet was about to breathe fire. Quick gut check. If you have ever had to prove a payment you already made, hit like, and drop the word clipboard in the comments if your HOA has a Cheryl. Because here is the kicker. The first letter that started this mess did not even spell my name right, and somehow it still got stapled to my front door right above a demolition notice. 2 months before the porch disaster, a beige envelope landed in my mailbox like a warning label. Big black letters read, Urgent Delinquent Assessment Notice. I opened it at the kitchen counter while still standing because it reads better that way. Apparently I owed $3,842.17. Back dues and late fees and interest and collection administrative costs, and a chef's kiss 75 for mailbox nonconformity.
My mailbox is literally the model.
From the HOA catalog. If it were any more compliant, it would salute. I did what organized people do. I took screenshots. I pulled bank statements and auto-pay confirmations and ledger exports. I emailed Brent, the property manager. His auto reply pinged back like a rubber band and said, "I will be back in the office at my convenience." That is not a time, Brent. When he finally responded, he sent a brand new PDF that said updated balance due, and now it was $4,190. They added notice to abate nuisance for $250. I asked what nuisance. He replied that my porch is unsafe. It is the porch my dad and I built. It is the porch the HOA approved in writing last year. Sure. I requested the association ledger and asked for a meeting. Cheryl replied with copy-pasted scripture from the bylaws about timely remittance and no payment plans. Great bedtime story. I set a calendar reminder for the next board meeting and another to bring cookies, 'cause nothing softens a crowd like chocolate chips. In week 2, a certified letter arrived. It read intent to lien and foreclose. The mail carrier gave me the "You okay, buddy" look. In week 3, another letter came. It read notice of abandonment and hazard abatement. Abandonment. I waved at Cheryl from my driveway that same morning. It claimed my porch leaned 2 degrees off level. I pulled out a level. It was fine. 2 degrees is yoga, not demolition, Gary. Squinted at the letter and asked if I wanted him to talk to them. Maria whispered if she should bake. I said yes to both. If you have ever had to prove a payment you already made, tap like so. This story escapes the HOA group chat. Drop the word beige in the comments if those envelopes haunt your dreams, and tell me you're petty as fine. By the time walked into the clubhouse, their ledger said, I owed more than my first car. My so-called unsafe porch was now the excuse for a backhoe appearance. The clubhouse was fluorescent, lit purgatory with folding chairs and cheap cookies that tasted like regret. Cheryl sat at a table covered with a navy cloth as if she were signing a treaty with a rival HOA. Brent sat hunched over his laptop, tapping hard. It sounded like the keyboard had insulted him. I signed in, waved at Gary and Maria, and set my plate of real cookies in the middle. Clear signal. I came in peace, but I brought back up. Public comment lasted 3 minutes. A clock on the wall ticked like a bomb. I leaned into the microphone. I said I had paid every assessment and had autopay attached. Their ledger was wrong. About the unsafe porch, here was the engineer's note from yesterday. It was structurally sound. If my porch was a hazard, then so was gravity. Cheryl did not look down. She quoted the CC&Rs like bedtime scripture. Assessments shall be paid the first of each month. Pointed to the bank statements. They were. Brent cleared his throat. He said they migrated to a new banking system, and some owners failed too. Update their autopay. I smiled without humor. That would be interesting, except SunPath confirmed in writing that my autopay transferred and my payments cleared. Their own receipts showed deposits. He flipped pages as if the truth was hiding in a different shade of beige. I asked for an independent audit. Cheryl answered that audits were disruptive. I tilted my head. Homeowner is disruptive. Maria coughed into her banana bread and said, he has a point, dear. Then came the petty. I got home, opened my portal, and found fresh violations. Holiday lights left up past January 6. It was January 4. Trash can visible from the street. It was trash day. Brent emailed that they encourage neatness. I emailed back that I encourage him to live a little. Quick pause. If you have ever been fined because your trash can took a breath of fresh air, tap like so. This saga escapes the HOA chat. And tell me in the comments what is the pettiest notice you have ever received. In week, for they scheduled an emergency board meeting. I arrived with a binder labeled receipts and permanent marker like it was going to a war museum. Cheryl opened with the line, we are not here to debate. Great start. I asked for the ledger again. Brent printed one. It was a masterpiece of fiction. My payments were applied to future assessments, then reallocated to legal fee escrow, then marked insufficient due to runs of house adjustment. Runs of house. This was not a hotel, Brent. There was no continental breakfast. Who authorized moving owner? Assessments into legal fees without notice. Silence. The air conditioner hummed like a lie detector. Why were my checks deposited into an account that did not match last year's? Brent said they updated accounts. I said without telling owners. He said they sent postcards. The room groaned. Maria raised a hand. We got the postcard about the pet costume contest. Not the same Brent. Fines multiplied. The number grew like a chia pet on fast forward. I filed a formal records request under state HOA statutes. I asked for bank statements, vendor contracts, minutes, and any permits for abatement. The law said they had to provide them. Brent sent a PDF of minutes that said, and I quote, "matters discussed." That was it. I had seen fortune cookies with more story than knock-knock. A contractor in steel-toed boots stood on my porch. He said they were here to schedule porch removal as if it were a dental cleaning. I asked for the permit. He gave me a photocopy with a parcel number that did not match my deed. I took a photo. He squinted and said they would come back Thursday. I emailed the county. Any demolition permits on file for my address? The answer was none. I emailed SunPath. Brent replied, "We are proceeding." With what? Vibes. The neighborhood grapevine caught fire. Gary swore he saw Cheryl meeting the contractor's boss in the parking lot. 2 clicks later, we all learned the boss was Brent's cousin, so we had family rates on demolitions now. Adorable, as the demolition dates started to look real, I did 2 things. First, I filed a complaint with the State Attorney General's Consumer Protection Division. Conflict rules meant I could not touch the case in my day job, but I could file like any other resident, and I did with exhibits. Second, I printed everything. Bank statements with deposit stamps, emails, the engineering report, and a county parcel. Map showing my lot was 27B. Brent's permit copy said 72B. Digits are hard, apparently. Drop a comment if you have ever seen an HOA invent a fee out of thin air. What did they call it? Administrative aura? Fence vibes? And if you want the showdown as it happens, hit subscribe because the backhoe appearance is next. So when the backhoe rolled up and started chewing, I was angry but not surprised. I was ready. With a badge, a binder, and a county map that was about to blow this open. Back to the driveway. The backhoe was mid-bite with its teeth sunk into the railing like it was chewing on a confession. I stepped between the operator and my house the same. The way you do when a child runs into the street. Polite, but immovable. The man in the vest raised his hands. We have a signed order. He pointed at Cheryl's laminated page like it was a wand. Cheryl squared her shoulders. Aboard Resolution 14B, she announced. You are delinquent. Your porch is unsafe, and the association has the right to abate hazards. Great, I said. Show me the court order. She blinked twice. We do not need one. I pulled out my phone. Demolition requires a permit. The county says you do not have one for this address. She waved her laminate like it was blessed. We have a permit. I turned the screen so the sun hit it. For Lot 72, BIA and 27. B, you are not only trespassing illegally, you are demolishing the wrong house. The man in the vest went pale. We are at the wrong lot. The operator shut off the engine. The world exhaled. Dust settled on Cheryl's sandals like karma. Somewhere a dog stopped barking mid-woof. Cheryl tried to rally. She clutched her script like a life raft. You are 14 months delinquent. I flipped my binder to the bank statements. Paid, and paid again. Your own deposit stamps. No management company reallocated assessments into legal fees. Then claimed non-payment. That is not a math error. That is a magic trick. A patrol car pulled up with blue lights polite. Officer Green stepped out, calm and steady with his notebook ready. He listened. I handed him the county email, the parcel map, and the mismatched permit. He turned to Cheryl. Do you have a court order? She reached for the bylaws. He lifted his hand. A court order. The silence gave the answer. I took a breath and opened my wallet. Officer, full transparency. I am an investigator with the state. I already filed a complaint against my own association. I'm not working the case, but you will want to note this. The badge caught the sun. The man in the vest stepped back. The backhoe looked like it wanted to apologize. Green nodded. Work stops now. Without a court order, this is a civil matter. Any further damage becomes criminal. He took statements. Cheryl sputtered about authority. Grin said softly, "Ma'am, laminated paper is not a judge." The neighbors whispered and filmed with their phones. Maria appeared with a warm loaf like a peace offering and slipped it into Green's hands. Gary pointed across the street. "The permit says 72 at his Bob's house. He is in Ohio until March." I turned to the man in the vest. "You do not want your company on this video. Pack it up. We will meet tonight at the clubhouse. Bring your contract and your permit." I looked at Cheryl. "And bring your ledger." She lifted her chin. "Fine. We will have a hearing. Quick pulse check." If you have ever had to remind someone that bylaws are not the law, drop the words court order in the UHS. Court order in the comments. And subscribe so you do not miss what happens in that clubhouse. At that hearing, a single blue folder from the supply closet was about to undo. Cheryl's empire and prove my delinquency was engineered with a typo and a kickback. The clubhouse was packed with folding chairs shoulder to shoulder and the air conditioning fighting anxiety and losing. I set my binder down. Cheryl cleared her throat and gave a speech about standards and community pride before accusing me of chronic non-payment. I let her finish. It was cinematic that way. "Let us talk parcels," I said, and clicked the projector. The county map appeared with bright outlines and lot numbers large enough for the back row. "This lot 27B is mine. Lot 72B is Bob's. He is in Ohio." Murmurs rippled. "Your demolition permit is 472B in half. My violation notices are addressed to Nola Reyes. That person does not exist." Brent fumbled a flash drive like it was hot. "The ledger shows delinquency," he insisted. I split the projector screen. On the left were my bank statements with SunPath deposit stamps. On the right were their ledger entries. Your system took my paid assessments, moved them into a legal fee. Escrow for a case that did not exist, then marked my dues as unpaid and charged late fees on the balance you invented. The room inhaled in unison. Harmonized shock. The back door creaked. Maria and Gary shuffled in carrying a battered blue folder they had scavenged from the supply closet while hunting for extra chairs. The label read, "Invoices Contractor." Inside was a sole source emergency abatement contract to Brent's cousin signed the day before my hazard notice. The rate was triple the market. On top was a post-it note that read Lot 72 with a question mark. It was a sitcom and nobody was laughing. "And the kicker," I said, holding up a printed email thread. "Cheryl to Brent. We need an example." "People are getting lax," Brent replied. "We can use the porch thing. Cousin can do it Thursday. If you love a good paper trail takedown tap like. And tell me in the comments, has your HOA ever misspelled your name on a scary letter? What was your HOA alter ego?" Then the door opened again. Heels clicked. An investigator from my office walked in, flashed a badge, and said, "We are opening a file." I sat down, hands up. "Conflict rules," I told the room. "I am just a homeowner who brought snacks and receipts. The only question left was how expensive they're." Example was about to be and whether Cheryl would step down before or after the insurance company used the word negligence. They vanished into executive session and came back with faces like wet cardboard. Cheryl gripped a sheet of paper with both hands, her voice suddenly 2 sizes smaller. "Effective immediately, we are rescinding the abatement order, halting all enforcement actions against Mr. Reyes, and initiating an independent audit." She swallowed. "I am resigning as president." Brent cleared his throat. "SunPath will transition management to a new firm within 30 days. Translation, toast thoroughly buttered. The next 6 weeks were paperwork and fluorescent lights." The state met with the association. The audit peeled back layers like an onion that forgot deodorant. Assessments had been diverted into a legal escrow that paid preemptive retainers and catered lunches. Nothing says fiduciary duty like paninis. My so-called delinquency was an accounting ghost born from a system migration and supercharged by someone who was very comfortable reclassifying owner payments. The board's insurance carrier read it and developed an instant allergy to risk. Settled. The HOA insurer paid to rebuild my porch and the front wall the backhoe had damaged, plus interior dust repairs. They covered my temporary housing, my attorney fees, and through the consent agreement they funded community restitution, including refunds for bogus fines, late fees, and attorney charges billed without authority. Brent's cousin lost the emergency abatement contract. Sunpath lost the community. A new management company rolled in with real calendars and fewer cousins. Then we held a real election. Quorum was achieved and ballots were counted by an independent. Monitor live-streamed for the lawn chair crowd. Gary won a seat, and Maria took the social committee. The first rule they passed was simple. No abatement, removal, or demolition without a court order and a valid permit for the correct parcel, ever. Put it on a plaque. In the background, the state case continued. I did not touch it because of conflict rules. I stepped onto my brand new porch with my dad. We gave it a bounce and he grinned. Told you, marching band, if seeing a little justice. Felt good tap-like, and dropped the words marching band in the comments. If you have your own HOA saga, I am reading them for future episodes, and if you think my porch was the last thing, Cheryl tried to control weight until you hear about the flagpole fiasco on Elm Court. Here is what I learned. Travels at the speed of a group text. HOAs can be seatbelts or they can be handcuffs. The difference is due process and who is holding the keys. If your board waves a laminated sheet like it is a court order spoiler, it is not.
Nice.
Ask for documents. Get it in writing. Verify parcel numbers like your mortgage depends on it, because it does. Yes, even autopay needs a checkup. Set it and forget it is for rotisserie chicken, not for fees that can trigger a lien. Also bring snacks to meetings. It sounds ridiculous, but it disarms a room. People are 40% less likely to vote to bulldoze a neighbor after they taste Maria's banana bread. That is not science, just vibes and crumbs. If this gave you courage to open your mailbox without flinching, tap like so, this story reaches the next poor soul with a beige envelope. Drop a comment with the wildest HOA letter you have ever seen. Bonus points if it involved a measuring tape and grass height. Subscribe if you live for clipboard showdowns and paper trail plot twists. Because next episode, a board tried to charge a soldier for flying a flag on Memorial Day. Guess which state statute they forgot? If you were yelling, that is not how permits work at any point. I do 3 quick things. Tap like so this video reaches every clipboard in a 5-mile radius. Subscribe and ring the bell. New HOA sagas drop weekly, from mailbox fonts to courtroom fireworks. Share this with the neighbor who keeps a binder labeled receipts. They are the hero your cul-de-sac deserves. Comment of the day. What is the pettiest abatement you have ever seen attempted? Trash cans. Drop it below and make it spicy. If you made it to the end, comment badge drop so I know you are part of the porch protection squad. Bonus round. Yes. Your own HOA horror story. I might read it in a future episode, so spill it. See you next time. We will bring the facts. You bring the snacks. And yes, the flagpole fiasco on Elm Court is coming.